Yo, um, welcome to the video. You might have seen this before if you've been channeling or watching the channel for a while. This is my Uzi that I made a while ago. This was made using nothing down here. It was all made upstairs in my old workshop that I had upstairs in my room. And by the way, if you notice that I'm wearing the same thing, it's because I recorded the same video back to back, so I'm wearing the same thing and I just didn't feel like changing. So what you gonna do? Anyway, so you might not recognize it. This is pretty old. This was one of my favorites. I loved it, and I'm pretty proud of it. It was one of the first guns I actually boxed. Whoa, I don't know what happened there. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It was kind of getting old though, so I decided, hey, let's make a new one. So I have this one. I just realized I didn't get any close-up shots of the gun before, so I'm gonna get a close-up shot of this one. But that'll be in a second. You'll see that in a second. But I'm gonna go over a few things on this bad boy. I'm actually gonna, you know what, I'm gonna get a close-up shot. Alright, you know what, I'm gonna do that. Pew 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 pew, pew 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 pew. So as you can see the old version. Wow, mixing two kinds of photo or views. This is kind of cool. I have a taller tripod now and a better camera. So you can kind of see the older version, you can kind of see the rougher cuts, the less professional coolness of it. And also, it's just older. You can kind of feel. I can feel that the cardboard's weaker. It's been banged around a lot. The reason I like this design so much is that this has never broken on me. This charging handle, it's never broken on me, and it's been very reliable. So that's why I never changed this system of things on my new one. So you can kind of see that it is off center. It's kind of really not well done because back then I didn't really have a band, so I didn't have any of these actually good tools, so I was stuck with doing this. All of this was done by hand with a box cutter and a pair of scissors and some hot glue. So I'm still pretty impressed with this, how it is with the tolerances and everything, how it's like perfectly in there and yet it doesn't fall out. Now we're on to the new one. So the new one is, you can tell it's a lot more nicely done. The design has never changed. It didn't really change. There's a few things I added onto it. The new techniques, pretty much just a lot of new technique. I got rid of the writing on there. I also got rid of the logo on the bottom. I don't do logos on my creations anymore. I added a couple things like a mag release. It doesn't really work, but it's just there for kind of style. I added this little bar on the bottom. I came up with a new way of this thing called piping. What piping is it's essentially making kind of pipes out of the corrugation, the bumpy corrugation inside of this cardboard. So you can kind of see that this has, like, when you peel it apart, it kind of has this kind of bumpy stuff in the middle of it. As you can see, kind of has this bumpy stuff in the middle. So what you can do is you can actually take your box cutter and you can cut in between these things and you can create piping. Now I am going to make a tips and tricks video on how to do all of this stuff you see on here and a lot of my other builds. All of these techniques that I use and all the different kinds of cardboard and stuff that I'll use. I'll put that all into the video. But I'm going to go over all the stuff. Like, I'm going to say stuff and you're not going to know what it is, but or like the terminology, but I'm still going to use it and I'll explain it later in the video. So I use some piping up here as well, just to add a little bit of a 3D element to it. I covered some of the corrugation on the edge here. That I did not do on the older version. I also didn't add the piping. I also added these, the smaller corrugated pieces onto the grips and onto the front here. I think it just gives it a little bit of a better look to it. I still went for the same exact kind of scored into the piece of thin cardboard like I did on this one. I also cut into there to make a cool little thing here. I still had the same safety selector. I did cut out a new trigger guard, so that's used instead of the one-piece kind of trigger guard thing. I added a legit trigger and a legit trigger guard. I added some piping down here on the magazine. The magazine is just a basic box with 2 pieces of flat cardboard covering it to make it thicker so it would have a smoother feel when you put it into the gun. It's the same mechanism, it still goes back and forth. It's not really accurate because on the real Uzi you would pull it back and then the charging handle would spring forward, but this would stay back. But I didn't really want to put a rubber band and a whole mechanism into it, so I kept this how it was. The only thing that, the only downside that I have on this Uzi compared to that Uzi is the sights. Now the sights, they don't really work. I didn't really try to make them work like I did on this one. This one you can actually see the sights when you look down there. You kind of saw the kind of pokey thing right here. You cannot see them on this one, but who aims with an Uzi anyway? You pretty much just spray and pray, really. Random, just take 2 and just. I know the Israeli army actually does use the sights. That was a joke, by the way. I was joking. I know people use the sights on Uzis. I did forget a few things though, such as the little thing in the front there. I didn't add that. I should add it. I will, eventually. I also didn't add the writing on the side. I also didn't add the sling mount. I'm going to add those things in the future, except for the writing, because the writing is stupid. I did add also a back safety, like the real Uzi does. It's just not as pronounced. I don't know why. Anyway, that was the overview of the Uzi. If you guys did enjoy the video, please leave a like and subscribe. I really definitely, I really enjoy the subscribers and the likes and the comments. I do read the comments as much as I can. Also, we just reached 800 subscribers. For some people, it's not really a big goal, but for me, it's huge. It means there's only 200 away from 1,000. 1,000 people subscribe, which is amazing. Thank you so much for that, and the subscriber count really keeps me going. It keeps me inspired, and it allows me to see that people enjoy this, and it keeps me going. It also inspires me to figure out new innovations and ways to make this hobby more interesting. I know, just pause up, hold up. I know I've gotten a lot of comments and a lot of opinions on my use of the bandsaw, and I would like to say that I understand that not everybody has access to a big freaking bandsaw, and I know a lot of my my new stuff is created with the bandsaw. A lot of my new layered guns and just in general, I use the bandsaw a lot. And the reason I do that is because I want to make a lot of content for you, and I want to make stuff for you, but I just don't have the time. And right now I'm at that point in my age where I'm starting to think about college. I have schooling I have to attend to. I have a lot of stuff that's going on in my life, so I just really don't have a lot of time to do all this stuff. So to make this and all that stuff was sort of hard, because it's like I have time after school, but I have like an hour of time before I have to start doing my homework, and my homework usually takes me until like 9 at night. So it takes me a really long time to do the essays and stuff. Next year it might be a little more free, so I'm also a lot more free in the summer. But the reason I use the bandsaw is it's also easier on my hands. My hands, I made a lot of these, and a lot of work on your hands over time actually really is bad for your hands. And a example is I had trigger finger, and I still do, but it's not as bad as it used to be because I stretch a lot more. But I had trigger finger for a while. What that means is your tendons actually swell up, and there's a little collar, and then your tendon is going to look really weird, goes through that, and my tendon actually swelled in one space, and it would get it would pull and pop, and it would cause my finger to actually pop. And that over time, if you ignore it, it can actually hurt your hand, and you could possibly lose your ability to move that finger. So the bandsaw allows me to make cuts and allows me to take strain off my hands, and puts it more, just less work for my hands and less work for me too. So it also allows me to get more professional looking products, and also guarantee you're never gonna get that good of a cut with a box cutter. So just saying, this ray gun I could never do this with the box cutter. I mean, I did, but I also used a bandsaw for it. So just saying. I understand that a lot of my audience is young too, so they don't have access to the big tools. But if you have a dad, ask him. And if you don't, hey, boxing works great with a box cutter only. A lot of the stuff is actually not used with a bandsaw. A lot of the stuff I actually use a box cutter. For example, all of these pieces, other than the layered stuff, I used a box cutter for the receivers and the cutting and pulling out the. I'll explain it in my tips and tricks videos. But a lot of the stuff actually takes a box cutter, and I can't use my bandsaw for it. So, and a lot of the detail on there takes a box cutter and an X-Acto knife too. So I'm not only using the bandsaw, and I don't want to be alienating to the younger people. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to start trying to use my box cutter more, layering, it's a waste of time if you do it layer by layer. So for me, of course, or for me, but if that's the only thing you have, then that's the only thing you have. So for me, it's just a waste of time. I love layering because I get better lines with it, so I'm going to continue doing this. I'm not going to stop. And it's also easier just to glue up a big block and being able to just put your template on there and just run it through the bandsaw. So I'm already extending this video over people's interests, so thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, leave a like and subscribe. I'm going to go re-record this video because I like this video format better. I'm going to re-record that Clone Trooper Blaster video. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe. I don't know. Yeah, bye. Go check out my Instagram, my Discord, and all that stuff.